Hello, and welcome to the Poets Reacts. I'm Mark, poet with a guitar. I'm from Washington, D.C. And tonight, you're going to join me and my poets. It's great to be back. And you're going to join me and my fellow poets. We're going to do something a little different tonight. Each one of us has recommended a poem, and we're going to have different segments going forward, discussing the poem, one poem that meant a lot to us or means a lot to us, and we're going to discuss that. And love to hear all you guys join in as well. So I'll introduce my panel of formidable poets. First, Marrisa.
Thank you, Mark. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited for this format change. I hope you guys are excited too. This is going to be an incredible series that we're putting together. Please make sure that you're using the chat. Write questions, comments, anything you want to know. Interact with us in the chat. We love to talk to you. Also, if you're going to do artwork with Kemlyn, please send us a picture when you're done. We would love to see your artwork, post your artwork, share that with everyone here at TPR. Lawin.
Hi everyone. I'm Lawin.
Lawin on the road.
Schmuck on the road. Yeah. Hey, look. No. Okay. Yes.
That's Schmuck. I'm just kidding. We love you.
All right. So Schmuck on the road. I am in Manila. But can't miss this show. And you know what? If I can't miss it, maybe you shouldn't, because that's how dedicated we all are. So do like and subscribe our YouTube channel, all the rest of our socials. We are on Instagram. We can be we are usually reshared on Facebook as well. And do follow all of us, because it's a great show. Hey Cam.
Hi, Lawin. Good to see you. Hi, Marrisa. Hi, Mark. I'm Kemlyn, and I am your Arizona Singapore connection. And today, it's good to see you. And, and I'm a multidisciplinary artist working out from Arizona, as I said. And today, without further ado, I'm excited about seeing our pick for video, or a poem from one of you. I'm so excited. Okay, so send in the poem.
Because it's October, especially when the October wind with frosty fingers punishes my hair. Caught by the crabbing sun, I walk on fire and cast a shadow crab upon the land. By the seaside, hearing the noise of birds, hearing the raven cough in winter sticks. My busy heart, who shudders as she talks, sheds the syllabic blood and drains her words. Shut to in a tower of words, I mark on the horizon, walking like the trees, the wordy shapes of women and the rows of the star-gestured children in the park. Some, let me make you of the voweled beaches, some of the oaken voices from the roots of many a thorny shire tell you notes. Some, let me make you of the water's speeches. And scroll. Scroll, please, thank you. Behind a pot of ferns, the wagging clock tells me the hour's word. The neural meaning flies on the shafted disc, declaims the morning, and tells the windy weather in the cock. Some let me make you of the meadow's signs, the signal grass that tells me all I know breaks with the wormy winter through the eye. Some let me tell you of the raven's sins, especially when the October wind. Some let me make you of autumnal spells, the spider-tongued and the loud hill of whales, with fists of turnips punishes the land. Some let me make you of the heartless words, the heart is drained, that spelling in the scurry of chemic blood, warned of the coming fury. By the seaside, hear the dark voweled birds.
This is so cool, and just in time for Halloween too. The whole beginning was like Vampire Central, right? And I love the autumn references. I think I would get if when we get it in the chat, I'll point out some of the lines that I loved. But I feel very much like you're preparing us for Halloween. I mean, I'm not making a clown of this poem at all. It's an incredible poem. But there's so many things that watch. All right, here it comes. But for me, when there was sheds the syllabic blood and drains her words, I'm thinking like vampire sucking the blood. I know, Mark, it's totally different, but Halloween's coming, right?
That is true.
Hearing the raven cough in winter sticks. So for me, it's very Poe-esque. It's very almost even like Tim Burton-esque. I could totally see Tim Burton doing claymation to this poem. Would be really cool to hear. It's almost got that gory allegory to it. I like how you put something I mark on the horizon. Where else? There's and then talks about October. It actually says October. I love the punching of turnips, because you can grow turnips like anywhere. They will grow pretty much in anything. Wormy winter, ravens' sins. Ravens are very active in winter. The autumnal spells. Yeah. Spider tongue, spider, right? Again, things that to me remind me of Halloween. Chemic blood, scurry of chemic blood. The seaside hears the dark voweled birds. I feel like almost like the movie The Birds. And very much so, black and white, Alfred Hitchcock horror poem. I love it. The only technical thing that I could mark this poem about on the page is that there's a lot of fluff. They have way too many thes. They could totally cut the F out of that poem. But I think maybe this is someone who might be writing about how they feel about Mark Fishbein. I don't know. Right?
I see that Lawin had to. He had internet stuff. He's going to hopefully try to be back. Kem, did you do anything for it before?
Yeah. So here's my ekphrastic painting.
See, spider webs. I love it. And she put some blue sky in there for the ocean.
Yeah. So whether it be the sky or the ocean.
Where's the blood? Where's the blood? Where's the blood draining? Right?
Let's do the blood draining.
The wordy shapes of women and the rows of star gestured children.
Okay, I'm bloodying it right now. Okay, because Marrisa insists that we have to have the blood. Okay, so we got
frosty fingers, right? I mean, it's very interesting.
So first, I find it interesting because the poet, there you go, Kemlyn. When you find out who the poet is, of course, if you're not familiar with the poem, it will be of interest to you. Suffice it to say, it's not an American poet.
This is clear.
But anyway, this poem in academia, this poem is considered one of the 10 best poems in the 20th century. I mean, really, it's like this to me is an absolute masterpiece.
You brought a predictable poem to TPR. And
this poem, it influenced me very, very much when
Are you afraid to fail, Mark Fishbein?
No, listen. Yeah. This poem was really an important poem to me when I was college student 100 years ago. It was it was the poem that just brought me into poetry because there's something that gets.
It's Lawin. I'm calling you.
It's Lawin. It's Lawin.
Fishbein, you've arrived at poetry.
Yeah. It's Lawin. So I'll answer. Can you make it in?
Tell him this is the Razor Club for Men. I would answer it like I would go. This is the Razor Club for Men. May I send you a free?
Let me finish talking about the poem a little bit. So the poem. I mean, I've known this poem so well. I mean, basically, you have to read it through a couple of times, but it fills you. Yes, it does fill you with all that stuff about October and Halloween and all that. But when you dig into the poem, it's really a poem about almost of reinventing yourself and the loss of your innocence. I mean, it's when the October wind punishes him, reminding him of the death of spring, of the death of the summer, going into the death of innocence in child references. He refers to his heart being feminine, her, and he's opening up what's coming, the amount of tumult that's growing in him, because as he leaving this kind of state of innocence and going into the winter, lost in a tower of words. He's a poet, and he's going to explode with these visions that he has. And to me, he does it in every single line is crafted perfectly. He builds rhymes. He starts the poem without too much rhyme, and he builds it into the end. He repeats words in certain fashions, just perfectly so. If you look into the poem took, I think the last time I saw they found some of the poets' notebooks. He had like 50 pages of notes for this poem, type of thing. It's a crafted poem on the highest kind of level. And I think in order to appreciate it and everything, maybe it takes a little bit of academic kind of learning. I would hope not, because to me, this is what poetry was all about in the 20th century. I mean, this poet, at this point, I think I could tell you it's the time. This is Dylan Thomas.
Okay.
Dylan Thomas wrote, he's most famous for Do Not Go Gentle, which is the most famous poem in English in the 20th century. It's a villanelle. But this particular poem, I see the Summer Boys in Their Ruin are probably the two of his most famous poems. And this one, every time I read it, I get goosebumps.
Can you not see like Tim Burton doing a claymation to this?
You know what, Marrisa? Why don't you read the poem? Read it.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, I want you to read it.
Okay.
Yeah, Sayaka, could you put it back on?
No, I can read it from the chat, unless you want people to.
Okay, you want to get the stanza breaks and everything.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. So,
okay, all right, here we go. Especially when the October wind with frosty fingers punishes my hair. Caught by the crabbing sun, I walk on fire and cast a shadow crab upon the land. By the sea's side, hearing the noise of birds, hearing the raven cough in winter sticks. My busy heart, who shudders as she talks, sheds the syllabic blood and drains her words. Shut too in a tower of words, I mark on the horizon, walking like the trees, the wordy shapes of women and the rows of the star-gestured children in the park. Some let me make you of the voweled beaches, some of the oaken voices from the roots of many a thorny shire tell you notes. Some let me make you of the water's speeches. Behind a pot of ferns, the wagging clock tells me the hour's word. The neural meaning flies on the shafted disc, declaims the morning, and tells the windy weather in the cock. Some let me make you of the meadow's signs. The signal grass that tells me all I know breaks with the wormy winter through the eye. Some let me tell you of the raven's sins, especially when the October wind. Some let me make you of autumnal spells, the spider-tongued and the loud hill of whales. With fists of turnips pushes the land, with fists of turnips punishes the land. Some let me make you of the heartless words. The heart is drained, that spelling in the scurry of chemic blood, warned of the coming fury. By the sea's side, hear the dark voweled birds. It's I do think there's too many does in there, but I would like I would say I'm sorry, Dylan. We got a little No, but I love it, Mark, because especially at that time when he wrote it, right? There's a lot of change. I'm sure there was a lot of change in his life. He talked a lot in his later works about that change. Hindsight's 2020. He did talk a lot about his life looking back and the reflections. And I think that those have carried his legacy forward for many poets who have come up since him. And we should all do that. We should look at our life like he looked at his and consider the changing of the autumns as not just a death and dying and moving forward, but also of a rebirth. So the follow-up poem to this would be very interesting. I would have maybe even written it as as some sort of I would have done something fun with it.
I really enjoyed his use of how he weaves our craft of words into his poem. So, it's obvious, he was giving homage to, him being a poet and how he uses words like syllabic and his tower of words and his wordy women. And I just think that was
the inner music in this poem. It's, to me, it just builds the pace up, to the end in such a way. And just the opening, especially when the October wind with frosty fingers punishes my hair. It's like, wow. I mean, it got me right in when I was like 18 or something like that. And he became the major influence of so many people, of Dylan, Bob Dylan, and named himself after Dylan Thomas, of course, and so many other poets. He's probably one of the major influence. And I was interested because when I was looking up Dylan Thomas recently, you look at a graph. They have these graphs of poets' popularity throughout the decades. And Dylan Thomas is no longer. At one point, he was the main focus of American poetry. It was like, even though he's Welsh, but Dylan Thomas, T.S. Eliot, is up there with these big names. And now you don't hear his name as often.
But you want to know why that is, right? People are chasing a fast dime instead of a slow dollar these days. You have to come across a poem like this and know that you got to take a minute and slow down and stop. And you really have to kind of spend some time on it. And I think so much of what we're experiencing in the world, even with COVID forcing everyone to press the brake a little bit, people are desperate to get back to their lives. People want to just be amazing writers without putting in the time to understand writers from eras that are not their own. And in this, not just Dylan Thomas, but other poets around that era, it's like a hidden gem. And you read through it and it'll probably go, right? It'll go way past, because you're used to hearing things perhaps in modern words, modern times. So when you can sit with a poem and digest it and really understand, of course I'm making parallels to it because I think it would be a really awesome claymation video. And I think it would be a fun movie. It's very, to me, it's very gothic. It's very, it's very winter-esque for me. It's like that black and white, kind of claymation. Can you imagine what that would look like? I'm thinking about it in my mind as you're reading it. It took me to that place, right? And it takes you to a different place, which I think is the beauty of it.
Sure. It's a combination of imaging, of using word, sound, and images that, killed the generation of Seamus Heaney, for example, if you know the poet, right? I mean, he's really walking in Dylan Thomas's footsteps, and a lot of others, just to encapsulate that time when words were used, in that kind of fashion. One thing I'll end with this that I picked up was that good poetry, a good prose when you read it, wants you to turn the page to get to the story. Keep on turning the page. If it's good, you want to turn the page. Good poetry wants to keep you on the page.
Yes.
Poem kept me on the page, because every time I'd read it over, I mean, I kind of got what it was about, just this kind of rage and this innocence bursting out of October, this wind punishing the hair, punishing the turnips, punishing the ground, all this punishment, and these caught in a tower of words. He's this writer just struggling, trying to get it all out. I just, related to it. Anyway, Ken, why don't you finish up for us?
No, I just wanted to let you know. Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing that poem and one of your picks. So, as you can tell, we are starting a different phase of the Poets Reacts, and we, as members of the panel, are going to be sharing our poems, our favorite poems, with you. So keep.
And I thank you, Mark, so much. Yes, I'm glad. I'm so grateful you found this poem because it brought you to poetry and it brought you to us.
Yes.
Thank you. My
All
pleasure.
right.
Yeah.
So remember, please like, share, subscribe, and follow to the Poetry Global Network to come to our show, The Poets Reacts. Make sure that you're sending comments in the chat. If you did some artwork with Kemlyn this episode, please make sure you post it. We would love to share that with you. Remember, please, we're across all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, soon to be TikTok. We are everywhere the internet is. So please like, share, subscribe, and follow to everything we do at the Poetry Global Network. And remember, as we are reacting live time to poems with you, we sure do hope you take action with your pen, so that maybe someday we'll be reacting to your poem. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.